Hey there, welcome back to my project management sandbox. Today we're gonna talk about how to introduce yourself at work. Imagine the situation that you are at work first time, like you are starting over the new position in the new company, and you need to introduce yourself to other people and to your colleagues so that they can get a clear picture of who you are, what you're doing here, and when and why they would need to reach out to you sometime in the future. I have broken down this topic into a couple of sections. First, some tips on how to actually do this. Second, what to include in your introduction. And the third one, where to use this intro. So let's get started. 3 general tips on how to conduct the introduction. First of them would be to actually find the right moment. And that is crucially important because you need to understand when is it appropriate and when it's better to skip it and to find another opportunity to introduce yourself. Here is a short example. On one of my places when I needed to collaborate with the team, I also thought that that would be nice to introduce myself. The moment when I decided to do this was our first meeting. And there was a lot of people, we had an agenda that I have prepared and we needed to go through this, but before we did that, I thought, okay, I think that would be nice to let these people know who I am and who they're going to talk and collaborate with on this call, so why not conducting a short intro in the start and meet everybody before we are getting started. How did it turn eventually? I have made my intro and I have asked everybody who were on the call to take their part and to introduce themselves as well so that we can better get to know each other. And as a result, all this activity have eaten, I don't know, maybe between 10 to 15 minutes of the call in general. What was the problem here? First, it was not really efficient because we might have used those 15 minutes in a very productive way. Secondly, I have placed myself in a center of attention from the perspective that everybody was already familiar with each other. The only person who they didn't know was myself. I grabbed the attention of everybody to introduce myself, and I made other people spend their time and introduce themselves to me. Kind of a not really professional way of starting a meeting where we had a clear agenda to go through. So what is the takeaway from all of this situation? Is my tip number 1, find the right moment and the right way how to introduce yourself at work. As a result, here's the tip number 2. Sometimes introduction via the chat is pretty much enough. When you need to introduce yourself to a large amount of people, not to spend, or even better to say, not to waste everybody's time, prepare your introduction and throw it in the group chat so that everybody could react and everybody could get familiar with who you are, what you do, and why you are here. If someone feels appropriate to introduce themselves back to you, they can do this in the thread, or probably they can reach out to you directly to start the conversation from the introduction. And tip number 3 here, come up with 2 short pitches, one of them in a verbal way that fits within the 1-minute talk, and the second one in a written format that can help you have this prepared on hand and throw it in a chat or via the email when appropriate. And a sub-tip here is try to be quite concise here. As I have mentioned, that's really important to stay proficient and not to waste everybody's time. And also, it's really important to be to the point, to give an exact clear picture of who you are and why you're here. We have reached the section number 2 of this episode where I would like to talk about what to actually include in your introduction so that it's gonna be right to the point, pretty much concise, and so that you could have this list of tips on hand and build your own introduction on demand when needed. In my template, I have 5 sections in my introduction. In general, they help me to build whichever introduction I need depending on the situation, circumstances, and team I'm going to collaborate with. As an example, I'm going to also provide you the information of how I would introduce myself. I'm going to use the imaginary role and imaginary company, but in general, you're gonna get the picture of how should it look like. Number one is definitely gonna be your name and your family name or your surname, so that people know your full name on how to address to you in a formal way. And additionally, you're welcome to include like informal name or the preferred name, which they can use like in the informal situation or on a daily basis. If we start from the name introduction, that's gonna be something like, hey there, my name is Kristina Kushner and you can call me Chris, or friends call me Chris usually, so you can use whichever name you prefer. Number two is definitely to highlight your role and what you're gonna do in this company. Sometimes this information is missing, so we know there is a new person, but what this person is actually doing, that might be a mystery, so do not miss this information in your introduction. For example, I'm a program manager and I'm going to supervise projects in the XYZ department, so most likely we're gonna be in the same team. Number three is the highlight from your background that could characterize you professionally. For example, this could be your education or some certifications or maybe some technology that you are proficient at. This could also give an idea to people, hey, this guy might help me with XYZ. Definitely I'm gonna reach out to him or her when I have a question on this topic. Example, I'm PMP certified and have a wide experience managing stakeholders on the mobile projects. Besides, I have a good grasp on user experience, so potentially that could be handy on the projects that we are going to work on together. Number four that I prefer to include in my introduction is some informal highlight that could characterize myself as a personality. This could be something that you do in your spare time, something about your preferences, or maybe some of your hobbies. Example, in my spare time, I'm creating videos for my YouTube channel where I talk to people who want to start their career in tech as project managers. And tip number five in my list for the introduction structure is to always include the welcoming message at the end. This could be helpful for people to start the collaboration with you and to make it in a more informal way with no blockers in front of them. Example, I'm always happy to help on any question regarding the project or project management career, so if you have any, feel free to reach out to me at any time. You can use the similar structure for the under 1 minute introduction page or for the introduction message. This could help you building an efficient introduction structure that is multi-applicable to professional situations. In the beginning of this episode, I have been highlighting where not to use introduction, but let's discuss the areas where the introduction would be appropriate and where you can take an advantage of introducing yourself first. Getting back to this imaginary situation, you are entering the new company in the new role. First thing first, I would suggest using this introduction in a written way in the group chat. Most likely, you're going to be introduced by someone from the HR team, but why not following up on this message with your personal introduction that could characterize you to your colleagues in your unique professional way? Another area where you could use this, if we started talking about the messengers, is basically your profile. In any messenger that you're using in the company, should this be Slack or Teams or whichever messenger you are using there, or maybe some specific tool. Normally there is an area where you can fill the information about yourself, and this information is going to be accessible for everybody in the company on demand. So take an advantage here, fill your profile with relevant information like who you are, your name, your role in the company, what you are doing there, and basically supplement it with some information about your professional and personal highlights that you would like other people to be aware of. And tip number three, where I feel this is really appropriate to use your introduction page in a verbal way, is one-on-one calls with your colleagues if you're going to have any. So the first one-on-one call would be really appropriate to learn more about one another and to understand what is the personality and what is the professional profile of the person that you are collaborating with. And another opportunity when it would be appropriate to introduce yourself personally is calls with a limited number of people. When it's not gonna be really time-consuming to quickly introduce yourself to one another, or probably that could be appropriate on a calls when introduction from others is not required. And to complete this episode, I'm going to provide you with a full introduction based on the structure that I have been sharing in section number 2 of this video, so that you can use it on demand to build your own intro if you would need this. Hey there, my name is Kristina Kushner. Friends call me Chris, so you're welcome to use one or another depending on your preferences. I'm taking over the program management role and gonna be responsible for the projects in the XYZ department, so chances are we're gonna be in the same team. I'm PMP certified and have a wide experience working with the mobile projects. Besides, I have a good grasp on user experience, so that could be super handy on our projects moving forward. In my spare time, I create videos for my YouTube channel where I talk to people who want to start their career in tech as project managers. Therefore, if you're gonna have any question on our team project or on anything related to project management, feel free to ping me in the direct messages at any time you need. I would love to know if you feel that was helpful and if you're going to use the introduction structure that I have shared in this video, and see you in the next episode. Cheers!